And we're live. Today's Thursday, April 2nd, and you're tuned in to NEZ SEZ, a place where musicians can come together and inspire each other to play more guitar. Thanks all for being here, and we have a very special show for you tonight. I'm Dave Nesdahl, and this is my co-host, Ty Price.
Hey, Dave. Hey, Dave. I'm so happy to be with you tonight, and I'm very excited to be with our distinguished special guest from Detroit Rock City, and one of the coolest guitar players on the scene today, Mr. Sammy Boller. Sammy, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's gonna
You
be really
bet.
fun.
Sammy is a guitar virtuoso and a former music student at the University of Michigan. He first captured national attention in 2012 when Joe Satriani, Joe Satriani, selected him as a winner in Guitar Center's Master Satriani's competition. Now he is an internationally acclaimed player who has amassed a large and loyal online following. Just 2 weeks ago, on the 20th of March, Sammy released his debut instrumental record, Kingdom of the Sun, on Candy Rap Records. Fantastic record, Sammy.
Thank you.
And when he's not making great instrumental records, he rides shotgun with world-renowned amp whiz Dave Friedman, promoting Friedman amplification. And if being a genius player isn't enough, he's also a great writer because he is a contributing columnist for Guitar World magazine. And his online column, The Secrets of Shred, often racks up tens of thousands of views. And we are very excited to have him on NEZ SEZ tonight. Sammy, welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome,
thank
Sammy.
you. Thanks for that intro, man. That was too much. You guys are too nice.
You bet. Cheers. We're glad you're here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
You know, it's very funny. I worked at Guitar Center for 10 plus years. And that was a motto of Guitar Center. We're glad you're here. That was the motto. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
We're glad. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. So that's perfect.
Awesome. So let's say hello to everyone in the chat, shall we?
Yes.
Mr. BHB Jr. was the first to be here. Hey, Bruce, how you doing? Fisherman 6798 says he loves when Sammy does a live stream. To truly appreciate his musical gift and talent, you must see him perform live in concert. I'm looking forward to that, actually. Ben Coombs is here. David Scher is here. And Dave, thanks for sharing this video all over Facebook. I appreciate that. We all appreciate it. Who else is here? The Chad is here. Hey, Chad. Joe Hervey 84, Fruitcake Tony, Jimmy Biter, Chris Baven, Joseph D'Angelo, Thomas Santiago, Connor Johnson, Jeff Cornell, Peter K is here, my buddy Pete, Nags dealer here on Long Island. Dwight Bailey's here. Who else is here? Headstock Harem is here. And we'll say hello to more people as they come in.
We got a lot of people on here, man. That's awesome.
Liquid Charlie's here. Liquid Charlie's here. And Charlie's going to be a guest of ours, I think, on the 23rd, something like that?
On the 23rd.
23rd. So we look forward to seeing and talking to Charlie as well.
So we've said it on the air now, Charlie, so it's official.
Yeah, you have to come, Charlie. John Windsor's here. John Mancuta's here. My buddy John Mancuta. Probably the biggest guitar collection on the planet. And a hell of a nice guy. Very funny dude. Charlie says yes. Jason Lee is here. Looks like it's a raid. Looks like it's a Johnny Bean raid. Thanks to Johnny Bean for sending everyone over here. Appreciate it.
That's really cool.
Yeah. All right. So let's get this started, shall we?
Yes.
All right.
All right. So, Sammy, your album's been out for a couple of weeks now. How does it feel to actually launch this creative product and give it to the world?
Oh man, it's been awesome. The day it came out, I just couldn't even believe it, man. It was just like, when you work on something for so long, and it finally comes out, it definitely feels really good, But it's been rolling along. It's been kind of weird because everybody's hiding out at home, like I haven't been able to go out and play or anything because of the COVID-19 or whatever. But other than that, it's cool. It's just you got to take one day at a time. But no, it's been really cool to have it out. And thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to it too.
It's really a great record. I mean, fantastic record. And there's so much to really comprehend inside the record. And when you say you've been working on it for a long time, I mean, when did pre-production for that record begin? And what was your overall process for writing and constructing those 11 songs?
I'm trying to think when it actually started. It was at least 2 years ago. I think I started writing some of the riffs maybe like end of 2017, but we didn't start tracking it until maybe like the spring of 2018. But we were kind of doing it on a shoestring budget or whatever, so it was a couple days at a time here and there when we could get in the studio,
Sure.
But we did like 2 songs at first in 2018, and then kind of kept going back. So it was a long process, man. But I had it tracked probably at the beginning of 2019, and then it got mixed in the spring of last year. So it's it seems like a long time, but in the scheme of things, it wasn't that bad,
Sure.
Yeah, I don't normally listen to records these days. I don't know why, but I don't. But I listened to yours today, and I was astonished. Just your technique alone. I mean, the songs are great, but your technique alone, even your rhythm technique, using the 8-finger technique is just. And there's only a couple guys that can do that, and you're just incredible at it. Your tone is great. The performances are fantastic. When you did your performances, generally were they 1 take, 2 takes, or did you did it come easy to you when you were recording in the recording process?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, every song's kind of different. With this record, I definitely wanted it to feel like a live band, So we definitely spent a lot of time getting good performances in the studio just with the band. But a lot of the songs, like even though my band is like a 3-piece, like there's a lot of layered up, several guitar parts on each song, So generally, like I try to get the beds tight, and then I kind of went back and some were a couple, like 1 or 2 takes, but a lot of them I was a little more meticulous with, and kind of part by part, But yeah, I don't know. Every song is different. Like I know the first song, "Kingdom of the Sun," the title track, like that's almost like a live take. Like I've overdubbed a couple little things, but I think that one's kind of cool because it feels kind of live,
It sounded live.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. It sounded like it was a 1-taker. Yeah, it was very cool.
Let's talk about that track for a minute, because I think it really illustrates that there are so many unique characteristics about your playing style, in the way in which you are putting several fingers on the fretboard at one time, and you're creating these really unique melodies that are divided between these bass notes and these treble notes. Where does that creativity come from? How did you arrive at that stylistically?
Oh man, you guys are so nice. I think I started with I've been doing the tapping thing since I was a little kid. Like my favorite guitar player is Van Halen. I think we have that in common.
Sure.
Or one of our favorites, of course. So I've been doing the tapping stuff, since I was really young. But as far as like the like chordal stuff and like more arrangements, it's more just like the past few years I've really been working hard on it. I started really getting into like heavy doing it after I got off the road with my old band. And I was kind of just like burned out on everything I was doing, so I started practicing really really hard, like kind of like going back to like staying up all night trying to come up with new stuff, and At first, it started just doing. I never really even thought of like doing a whole composed album like that. It was more just like for fun and doing the arrangements, just guitar by itself, you know. But whenever I think it's good, like whenever you find something in your playing that excites you, it's good to like really try to stretch it out and take it as far as you can go with it, you know. So that's kind of what I've been working on, I guess, the past few years or whatever.
So you're in Citizen Zero, and you had some success in that. You had some singles that were charting, and you had some really cool shred solos in big hooky kind of songs like "Go." I mean, that's a super shred solo in that song, and
oh, thanks.
But in a relatively short amount of time, you're creating original compositions that are extremely creative and unique among instrumental guitar players. It's almost like the delay and the reverb that you were incorporating on tracks like Kingdom of the Sun or Instruments of Themselves,
Oh, wow.
and how you use them to develop a whole song.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, the delay and the reverb thing started more when I was in Citizen Zero, and we were talking a little bit about like before we went on about production and stuff like that. But my friend Steve Lehane, who produced this album, he really helped me kind of start developing that when I was really young. Like I've been working with him since I was like 19 or 20 years old, and when we first started doing writing sessions, even for the Citizen Zero album, he kind of started like messing with stuff in the box, like using plugins and showing me like some new sounds you can use, you know, different delay tones and plugins and stuff. And that just kind of led me down like a whole new path, and it's kind of led, like, it's been a long journey, but it's kind of led to what I'm doing now, you know. So that's how I started getting into it.
Do you remember what kind of gear you used in the studio when you were recording the record?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. For the most part, maybe not exactly, but yeah, for sure.
So did you have a go-to guitar? Did you have a go-to amp? Did you have a go-to cab? What do you remember the mic setup and that good stuff?
Yeah, it was mainly this guitar. It was what we were talking about a little bit before, but the Les Paul Custom that I play.
Yeah, that guitar is awesome.
I love this guitar.
Yeah,
man.
Tell us about that.
I've had this thing for years, man. I got it on eBay. Somebody had it made. It's like a one-off, but it's based on a Les Paul Access guitar, which is a model that Gibson Custom makes. But this one's cool because it looks like a Les Paul Custom. Like usually those have more of the aesthetic of like a Les Paul Standard, you know?
Right.
So that's why I really loved it. And it's black. I always wanted a black Les Paul.
Yep.
But I've kind of from the school of like Van Halen, Randy Rhoads. So like I've always used bar too. So this was like kind of the best combination of that I could find. So it's killer, man. It's got like the heel of a Les Paul Access, so you can get really high up on it too, which is cool. Over the years, like I've done like some mods to it. Like I put Motor City pickups in it, which are like my favorite pickups. I know we were talking about that a little bit before, and you guys dig those too. Those are like my favorite. And it's got coil taps in it. So for me, like when I'm playing like the lead stuff, like I'm usually on the bridge pickup, just full blast. And then the trick I use for the tapping, a lot of the time, it's the middle position, and then the neck is tapped. So it's the full bridge humbucker, and then just the split on the neck. And that's kind of like, I think that's, for me, that's the best like tapping tone I can get, especially when you're starting to layer it up with delay and reverb and all that. So it was mainly this guitar on the album, and then I play a Friedman B100. That's like my main amp. So that's on every track. That's like most of the tunes of that head.
That's cool. And, let's talk about the BE for a second, and how you got acquainted with Friedman amps. How'd that story go?
Dave and I are both from Detroit, and we're actually from like the same part of Detroit. And his best friend growing up is a guy named Marty. He owns Motor City Guitar, which is like, that's like the best music store in Detroit. It's been there for years. And I used to go up there when I was a kid, and I've been going there since I was really little, started playing guitar. And Marty's helped me out ever since I was like a teenager with gear and stuff. And they were like the first store in town to get Friedman amps when they came out. And I'd always kind of wanted one just from seeing them online and stuff, you know. But when I finally got to play one, I was like, oh my God, I got to have it. So I was like, I spent a couple months going in there making payments on a head, and I finally got one. And then when I finally got it, Marty was like, Dave is like a really good friend of mine. Next time he's in town, he's like, you guys
now
really
that you've
like
paid
me.
for it, let me tell you. Yeah.
No, I don't know if it was right when I paid for it. I knew they were friends, but like eventually it was like, hey, you guys should really meet each other, especially now since you're playing one. So we just ended up hanging out when he was in Detroit, and just became good friends, man.
That's great.
Dave's helped me out so much, man. It's crazy. But friends first, like I think that's a big thing with no matter what you're playing, especially when it comes to endorsements and stuff. Like the people behind the products are a big thing for me, at least, because often like the products reflect the people behind them, So I've been playing.
Do.
Yeah, so I love that head, man. I'm gonna try to get a B100 Deluxe this year. Have you guys played that head yet?
I haven't played the Deluxe.
I have
cool,
not.
Man.
Only the Series 1 BE for me. I've played all of Friedman's. Well, up until recently, I had played all of the Friedman amps and owned most of them. And
you said you have a small box, right? That's what you have now.
I love the small box. Yeah, love the small box, and I love the PT. I love the Pink Taco too. Just a phenomenal amp. The way he made that breathe fire is really amazing, and I can really appreciate the way you articulated. The people behind the product really kind of define the product. If Friedman amps say anything about Dave, it's just how good his ear is. He really understands how the guitar should actually sound coming through an amplifier. I mean, just really gets it. There's something very special about them all because they all sound slightly different. Dave, I know you've owned Friedman amps, and
yeah, I had a Dirty Shirley, and I loved it. My only thing with it is I was in a band where I needed to have a lot of clean, and that particular amp didn't work for that band. But the sound that it got out of it, crazy good sounding amp.
I love that amp too. Yeah. That amp is killer.
If you want, it's the quintessential '70s, Bad Company rock sound. That amp.
I want to get one so bad. They're making a new version of it now called the Twin Sister.
Like
a 2-channel one.
Yeah.
I got to try that out at NAMM, man. It's so cool.
How cool.
But I'm like you guys, man. I love all the amps. Like they're all so unique, but they all still have like the same, like there's still like a DNA in them. Like you can always tell when it's a Friedman, no matter what
right.
model.
I agree.
But yeah, you're totally right, man. Dave's ear is like second to none. So it's like. Yeah, I mean, I've learned so much just from hanging out with him. It's crazy, about how guitar players got their sounds. How I mean, it's he's like a whiz when it comes to all that stuff.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, let's get to some more people in the chat and their comments. Football Legends is here. Jeff T is here. He says, "What's up?" Diane Buser is here. Says, "Hey." Hugh Caldwell says, "Hey, Dave Nesdahl, Richard Nesdahl, my dad is here." Hey, Dad.
Hey.
Yeah. Gabriel Tone Guitars says, "Cool show." David Ennis says, Hey, Ben Coombs. Jason Lee says, "Sammy Boller Guitar World lessons are really good."
Thanks. Cool.
Brett Rumpf says, "What's up, everybody?" Peter K asks, "Did you do basic tracks in the studio and then overdub at home?"
We did it mostly in the studio. I'm really lucky. I've worked at like the best studio in Detroit is called Rust Belt Studios. It's like it's a pretty well known like rock studio around here, and that's where my friend Steve works. So we got to cut most of it there, and then we also used a studio called the Ashram, which is in Ortonville, Michigan. It's like out in the sticks. So we did some of it there too, but no, it was mostly in the studio. I think I did a couple little overdubs here. Like I live in a little apartment, so like I run my heads through like a load box at home, so I'm able to cut real tracks here. But for this record, it's mostly all in the studio with a mic'd up cab. You can't beat that, man.
Cool. Brad the Sign Guy says, "Good evening, gentlemen."
Good evening.
Yeah, Gabriel Tone Guitar says he's got a nice SG hanging behind him. 7 over 8.
Oh,
My
yeah.
buddy Jay Hannon is here from the Johnny Bean Show. Nice to see you. Han 36 Solo says, Bowler, love your music.
Thanks. Thank you.
Jasco Plumbing says, hey, Dave Nesdal, nice to see you have your own show. Congrats. And I see you have Sammy Boller as a guest. He rocks. Just bought his album earlier today.
Awesome. Thanks.
Brian the Sign Guy says, yes, Detroit.
Detroit.
He also said, Brian the Sign Guy says, yes, it's a kick-ass store, meaning the Motor City
He's
store.
talking about Motor City. Yeah, that's great.
Johnny Bean is here, my partner on the Johnny Bean Show. I do his show on Friday nights. Thanks, Johnny, for showing up, and thanks for sending everyone over here. Johnny just did a show before us with our buddy Rob Johnson, who's a huge Van Halen guy.
Nice.
Let's see. David Ennis says, hey, Ty Price, good evening.
Hey, David Ennis.
And all right, so that's it in the chat at the moment. So
My buddy Ben Combs is in there. That's cool.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah. Ben is awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, he said he played your guitar earlier. He played your guitar at NAMM. Said he loved it.
Yeah, I remember he was playing the NoHo. Yeah, it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's my bud, man.
Boner Jams is in the chat. He says, Dave Neslo, you look more handsome on Thursday nights than Friday nights. Congrats on the show. You have to dress up a little bit. When you have your own show, you got to dress up just a little. But thank you.
I didn't even. I've lost track of the days since hiding out at home, man. I didn't even realize it was Thursday this morning. I was like, oh my god.
We all
are you guys have you guys been staying home too, or have you been going to work or anything? Yeah, it's for the best, man.
as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're certainly not out playing guitar. Unfortunately.
No, nobody is right now.
No one is. That's right.
I know. It's funny, man. All my buddies, like, we've just been talking. It's like at least for me, like when I'm not traveling around, like I like spending time at home, like I like spending a lot of time just playing guitar, just hiding out. So it's like, wait a minute, I've been quarantined for the past 10 years. What is this? It's no different. We're just like joking around about that.
And you've really been out traveling. I mean, you've been doing clinic tours across America. You've been in Europe. I mean, what was that experience like?
Doing clinics with Dave has been really cool. He's I mean, people love to come listen to him talk about tone and gear, so I always feel like I learned something, like usually the way it goes is like I'll play a set and then there'll be like a Q&A after, so I mean he's helped me out a lot doing that. But we did one tour in the States. It's almost 2 years ago now, which is scary to think about, but it may be close to a year and a half ago, but it's been super cool. And then we did 2 clinic tours in Europe, which was amazing. Like I'd never been to Europe before, so getting to travel around and play guitar in Europe's like a total blessing, And the real cool part of it is you get to meet so many really cool people, and great guitar players and stuff like that. Especially in Europe, I met so many great musicians. It's awesome.
So you're having this interactive experience with these people that are attending clinics, and they're obviously they're listening to your songs. They're hearing the way you set up an amp. They're hearing all this tone. What question do they ask you the most, Sammy? What do they want to know from you though? After watching you perform, what do they want to know the most? Oh
man, good question. I don't know. A lot of it's about like gear and stuff like that, which is really fun to talk about, obviously. Lately, like I've been doing a lot of like Skype lessons like the past few months and stuff. So now it's like mostly people want to learn like the tapping stuff, which is really fun to teach and talk about. So I get a lot of questions about that. I get a lot of questions about like the delay settings and stuff, which sure. I don't do anything that crazy. Like live, I have a pedal board, and it's all I'm using is in the effects loop is a TC Electronics flashback, like the 3-button one, and it's kind of an older one. Mm-hmm. And then I also have a carbon copy on that's like on all the time. Like I it's set really low, but I use it more like reverb. So it's like a combination of those two together kind of give you a wide sound,
Right.
But I'm thinking about switching. A buddy of mine let me borrow a Strymon Timeline. Have you guys used that?
Yes.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
That thing's pretty kick-ass. I'm thinking about making the swap on my board, even though I'm kind of afraid to change anything out on it. But that thing's pretty cool.
It's very cool. I mean,
Yeah.
all of the Strymon stuff is just top shelf.
It's really, really good.
Yeah,
But
they invest a lot in engineering, and it pays off. Back to your comment earlier. I mean, the product should be a reflection of what goes into it, and they invest a lot into those products. And
big time.
they're fantastic.
Yeah, those are amazing. Yeah, they're awesome.
I make sure on all my pedal boards I have a Lex. It's just an amazing.
Great piece of gear.
Oh yeah.
Which one is that? Is that the reverb or no?
No, the Lex is like a rotary speaker.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've always wanted to try that one, man. That's cool.
It's really cool. Really cool. They work great.
Sammy, have you always gravitated toward a humbucker platform? How did you? What inspired you to pick up a guitar for the first time?
Oh man, I don't know if anybody's ever asked me that. I've both my parents are musicians. Like they were in a band together. They were on the road for years.
Oh, cool.
So like I was always like around music. From I don't even remember a time when I wasn't around music. But I started taking piano lessons when I was like 5, I think. So like really young, but I never really took it seriously. Like a lot of kids that get thrown into piano lessons.
Right.
But I just always wanted to play guitar for as long as I can remember. And I kept bugging my dad, hey, can you show me how to play, show me some chords, and finally I was like, all right, yeah, I'll show you some stuff. And then I got my first electric when I was 10 years old, I think 10 or 11. And yeah, I don't know. I haven't put it down. I haven't been able to put it down since, for better or worse.
So what was the first
I don't
one?
know.
What was the first electric?
Squire Strat. Do you remember the Squire Strat Affinity packs?
Certainly do.
I'm sure you remember those. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Got it from Guitar Center. Yeah. And I just would I don't know. I played so loud. It's amazing. My parents let me play so loud for so many years, just in our place or whatever. That I'm sure the neighbors were going insane, but it's all good. It was for the best. But yeah, I would just crank that little amp up that came with it just all the way and just go to town.
Well, it worked out.
So far, yeah.
It worked out.
I guess so. But yeah, I played that for a while, and then I started. That had like single coils. Obviously, that's a Strat. But yeah, your earlier question is, yeah, I've always kind of been gravitated toward. I'm a big Van Halen guy, and like Ozzy, and like that type of sound. So I've always been more of like a humbucker, Les Paul type guy. So after that, I got like a Jackson guitar. I had like a Jackson Dinky, like one of those like Super Strat type guitars. I played that for a long time too.
Sure. Peter K, my buddy, says, Sammy, how do you feel about amp modeling like an Axe-Fx?
Axe-Fx, that's actually a question we get a lot on the clinic tours. Personally, like they're not for me. Like I don't see myself ever using them live, especially. Like to me, like I'm more old school. Like from playing in bands and stuff, it's more about like just plugging in and going, and cranking it up. And it's like it's hard to recreate that with an Axe-Fx or a Kemper or whatever live. I just helped Plugin Alliance roll out some plugins though, like the new Friedman amp plugins, and those sound really good. So I mean obviously like there's a role for them,
Yeah, sure.
But for me, like for recording, like if I was doing another record or going to do a session or something, I'm always going to use an amp.
Cool. Real quick,
it's more like a feeling thing.
Sure.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I get you. Real quick, I just want to say hello to John BL5150. It says hello, Dave and company. He's got a show on Saturday nights with Johnny Bean on the Johnny Bean channel. Check that out.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah. David Ennis says, hello, Dave Nesdall. I'm always learning when you're on. I'm sorry. I just, I guess the bell is not working yet. So if you've clicked the bell and you haven't seen when the show is on, I don't know why that is just yet. I'm figuring that out. Ben Rossum says, The Rhett Schulz video on the Strymon Deco ruined the pricing for everyone.
Why is that?
I don't know. I'll have to check that out. I'll have to find out.
He's a nice guy, man.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Let's see. Who else is here? Who else did I say hello to? Loogie Flux is here. And if I didn't mention your name, just say hello again, or say present or something, and I'll get you on the next time I check the chat. Okay.
And we're all glad you're here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right this minute, we have 58 people watching us.
That's awesome.
And that's pretty cool. Thank you so much, everybody. Tell us about that Friedman guitar behind you.
You guys want to check it out? Here, I'll go grab it.
Yeah, please. Frank Corcoran says he didn't get any notifications either. My beautiful fiance Desiree Dornan is here watching. Hello, Desiree, from the other room.
Hello from the other room. This is awesome. Yeah, this is the Friedman No Hub 24. It's like their new model. It's a super Strat, so I've never had a guitar with 24 frets before, so this was like that was probably the biggest difference for me as far as like feel goes. But these are really badass guitars, just killer. Have you guys played any of the Friedman guitars yet, or no?
I haven't been able to yet.
They're cool. They're starting to pop up all like everywhere, But yeah, they're really kick-ass.
Oh, they're
so
great.
Yeah, this is like my other main guitar. Yeah, they're really good. Ty, have you tried them before or no?
I have, and the very first one I tried was a vintage T with P90s, and I just thought that guitar had it just had so much gusto. Just a great guitar. And then I play with a guitar player that is a big fan of I don't know what Dave calls it, but it's a T-shaped guitar with two humbuckers. And it's this beautiful Pelham blue white guard guitar that guitar is so balanced. It cuts through every single mix, and it's great whether the amp is broken up or whether the amp's clean. I mean, it sounds amazing. And I played my first Cali last year, and it's a very, very impressive guitar. It feels like, and I know that they were going for that old early 80s San Dimas, kind of thing, because the builder built all those. And
yeah, it's Grover. Yeah.
So and that guitar just felt amazing. Plays great, and the pickups really sound great. I know it's pretty trendy for guitar manufacturers to be winding their own pickups these days and all that good stuff, but the pickups in the Friedman Jackson guitars are really fantastic.
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed about this thing. It's like for me, like I like guitars that have a lot of attitude, that have a lot of distinct sound, and like these definitely have them. All the Friedman guitars do. But I think you're right. Like a lot of it has to do with the pickups.
I've not played one of the Metro guitars, and I tend to be more of a single cut player. I would love to get my hands on a Metro.
Those are really cool. They're really, really killer. They sound just like the baddest Les Paul you can find, or something like that. Like just really powerful, and they're really easy to play too, which is cool.
And that's important, right? So you want a guitar that really works for you, not the one that you have to work to play. I just don't want it to get in the way. I need all the help. I need all the help I can get. I don't need it to get in the way.
Yeah, I've never understood that either. Like, why would you want it to be hard to play? It's like I've always been like, action as low as you can go.
Me too.
Like easy. Music should always be easy. Or your setup. Nothing. For me, like I'm always been more like simple, straight ahead. As far as gear goes.
Dave is a terrific technician, and I started sending him gear a couple of years ago. And I remember the first conversation we were having about string height. I was like, well, how low can you put it? Just put it as low as you can take it.
Yeah, I'm from that camp. The lowest action you can. If it buzzes acoustically, I don't care as long as it doesn't buzz through an amp.
I'm like that too. Like, and not obviously not like fretting out when it's acoustic, but yeah, as long as it's ringing through, it's fine, you know. And especially like for the tapping stuff, you gotta have a little action, or else you're just gonna freak out, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've always been like that. You have any tips for how to get it as low as you can, Dave? I'm always looking for new stuff like that.
Yeah, well, the first thing is you got to have a straight fretboard.
Totally straight.
Yeah, totally straight. No relief. And the flatter the radius of the fretboard also helps. If you have a curved radius, like on your Les Paul, well, actually, it's not that's not on your Les Paul. On your telly, that's probably a 7 1/4 radius. You're not going to get very low action and be able to do a 2-step bend on that. But the flatter the radius of the fretboard, the lower you can get your action, and without buzzing.
Okay, so flatter the radius. That's good to know.
Yeah.
See, I don't know any of that stuff. I really should study up as far as like all the technical stuff. But
yeah,
I usually I usually set up all my own guitars for the most part, you know. But I do it just completely by feel. Like when it feels right, all right, we're fine, you know. And if it stays in tune, that's a big thing with me. Like that's why I started playing Floyd's like way back in the day, just because they stay in tune, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So Sam, you were out with Steve Stevens for a while. Who
say that one more time? Sorry, I broke up.
So you were out doing some performances with Steve Stevens for a while, and he's one of my. I'm an older guy. I'm a little older than you. And Steve is one of my guitar heroes. What? Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite guitar players too, man. But we did a couple of clinics together in 2018, and that's the first time I had met him. And I mean, for being such a big star, he is like he's such a wonderful guy, first of all, you know, which in my experience, when I've met some of my guitar heroes or whatever, it hasn't always been like that, you know. So I feel really lucky. Like he's just a really, really wonderful person. And he's been really, really sweet to me, you know, like getting to play and open up for him like during clinics, like that's a real honor, you know.
I'd say, I'd be freaking out.
I was really nervous. I usually don't get nervous, but you know, when it's somebody like that, it's hard not to be. But he was really nice. He's super cool. So I met him a couple of years ago, and then we did a clinic a few months ago in San Diego. And I actually went over to his place, and we like kind of like put a song together and wrote a song together. And we ended up playing it at the clinic, I think the next night or 2 nights later. So it was cool getting to play back and forth and like try to just work with him, you know. And like with guys like that, like you can learn so much in such a small amount of time, you know. It was really, really cool.
So from a player's perspective, what was the single biggest takeaway you had from that experience?
From player's perspective, that's a good question. With him, like, he really likes to work. He likes to work really fast. Like when we were working on that song together or whatever, like I went over to his place and he's got a setup at his house, and it's like, hey, I got this riff. And so he had like one section of the song. And like for me, like sometimes I'll have one section of a song for 6 months, you know, and not finish it. But like him, like he had that one section. He's like, all right, here it is. Well, here's what I got so far. Let's try to build around it. And like he works. He's like, for him, it's like not thinking so much. Like let's just keep rolling, you know. And I think that's cool. Like I like to work like that too. So like with him, like if it's working, just stick with it and stick at it, you know. At least that's the one day of working on a song with him. But yeah, I think that's important to not overthink it, you know. Just kind of roll with it.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's
He's
the way
awesome,
it should be. That's really the way it should be.
Also, his guitar sound is one of the gnarliest guitar sounds.
My Lord.
I mean, who has better sound than him? It's crazy. No matter, it's like, I think it's just his fingers, because no matter what guitar and no matter what amp he uses, he sounds just ridiculously good.
Yeah, and it's always changing too. That's what's so cool. Is like he's had a whole career and he's still finding new sounds, still changing it up, still looking for the new hottest thing. You know, like that's something I want to aspire for too. You know.
Well, I think you're there as far as I'm concerned. You're very recognizable. Just listening to your records, it sounds like you. It's just,
Oh, thanks.
yeah,
Thanks. That's
really cool. And I think that's probably the best compliment you can get.
oh
It's
yeah, that
awesome.
means the world, man. That's
Yeah.
so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I feel like it for the first time, like in my I don't know, career or whatever. Like I feel like I'm at the spot I'm supposed to be, if that makes sense. Like as a musician and as an artist. So that means a lot. That means a lot hearing that,
Oh,
But you
well,
got to work at it, Like I still work at it every day. And
Yeah.
trying to come up with new things, new sounds, new techniques, stuff like that.
Sure.
But this is part of being a musician, it never just when you think like you got it, it's like now you got to move on to the next thing,
So, Sammy, can I ask you some? Let me ask you a couple of questions about a few of the tracks on the record, like "Cloak of Light," a different kind of, a unique track. There's some chanting in that track. Is there?
Yeah.
There's a voice in that track. In a couple of places that becomes part of the flow in the composition. Melodically, you start one place and you end up in a very different place. Tell us about how that track came to be.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, the chanting in that tune is an Indian guru named Neem Karoli Baba, who I'm just a big follower of, and I had like the main tapping part, the way I wrote it was I had the tapping part first, and the whole song's kind of based around that main theme, the clean tapping. But I kind of wrote that song as like a tribute to him, just because I've read a lot of books on him and stuff. He's like kind of helped me out through some times, So there's not a lot of recordings of him speaking, but that's one of the few. So I sampled it and we put it in. It's in the beginning of the track and it's in the bridge, and then it kind of like trails off. But the funny thing about that is when we were recording it, like the audio of him chanting was a little bit out of tune, and the producers started tuning it. My buddy Steve,
wow.
and I'm like, so we tune it's barely moved, but just so it's in tune with the track. And I'm like, man, I don't know if we should, he was joking with me like, oh yeah, you're gonna get in trouble for tuning the chanting. It was like kind of like a running joke, but no, that's like the most special song on that album for me. I'm glad you like that one now. Thanks.
Powerful song.
Cool.
Thanks.
My buddy the Chad says, "Can Sammy play some tapping for us? Do you feel like plugging in for a second and playing something?"
I can, yeah. Let me see if I just don't know how it's gonna sound on here, but let me see.
Well, it's probably not going to sound great just because the medium that we're using, the guitar doesn't really come over great, but it'll be great for you to show people what you do.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So like that song, is that loud enough? Can you hear it?
Plenty loud. Yeah.
I'll turn it back a little bit. So like with that song, like a lot of the melodies and stuff on the record are they start with like the two-hand tapping technique, I guess you could say. And a lot of the time it's just following chord progressions. So like that one's an A, so it's hard to see this because you can't really see the fret markers, but it starts with, a lot of the time the left hand is just a power chord. So with that, you're kind of just outlining the chord.
Yeah.
So like with that, it's really only two chords. It's only A and then F sharp minor. Yeah. But I think what's cool is like if you tap it, you can kind of take a lot of different places without anything super complex, harmonically. So that whole song is only a few chords.
So you're really using your right hand to embellish intervals found within the chords themselves.
Correct.
And you're using that to create melodies.
Correct. Yeah. And actually, here's a good tip for if you're doing the tapping stuff. Like with that, like the first part of that song is just an A chord, right? Yeah. But one thing you can do melodically is you can surround the notes in the chord. So like if this is the third and the root of the chord, right, what you can do is go a step below and then a step above.
Yeah.
So see, and then really when you do the tapping stuff, it like all of a sudden starts to sound like music pretty quickly. That's why I like it,
It's amazing.
So if I'm looking at that, you're incorporating that dominant 7 in the ninth.
It's yeah, it's the major 7. So when I say like a step below, it's technically like the diatonic, whatever note's diatonically a step below.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, correct. So it's the 7th and the 9th.
Yep.
So my buddy
Yeah.
Rob, ZBH Guitars, Fitness, and FA's TV says, very cool show. Lots of awesome info and conversation.
Awesome.
My
Thanks.
buddy Rob Johnson. Great guy.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm having a blast.
Awesome. Yeah, we are too. Sorry to talk for you there, Ty, but I think,
No, you're
I think
good.
I can talk for both of us when I say that. Mitch Hewer says Sammy equals God. Wow. That's something else.
That's not true.
Well,
But
to
thanks.
him it is. And you're pretty damn good, I'll tell you that. Man,
I don't know.
that's a really nice compliment.
You guys are too nice to me. Thank
So,
you.
Sammy, I want to ask you a couple of more Guitar Geek questions.
Sure.
In your Les Paul custom, what pickups are you using? You said they were Motor City pickups?
Yeah, they're Motor City pickups. The ones in my Les Paul are it's kind of a special one he made called the Hothead. So
Yep.
that's what's in the bridge. That's like the main pickup I use. And then and you can still order them, but it's more like a special order. And then the neck's in a Fueyu.
Okay.
But I'm actually doing like a signature set of pickups with him with
cool.
Wade right now. So we've kind of been working on that. We just started working on it like right before everything got shut down. So I'm hoping to have them out this year, but they'll be based on that combination. So the Hothead and then the FOU. But I love all his pickups, man. Like I really think like those are the best you can find. But just for some reason, like that combination in my guitar, like I think we were talking about it before, but like with him, if you tell him what you're looking for, he's got a really good knack for going, all right, I know exactly what you need. Here you go.
Yep.
You know,
that was my experience
so that was
with Wade. That was exactly my experience. I explained to him, and this was quite a while ago. I explained to him, and he was very patient with me, and I explained exactly what I wanted. I explained to him the guitar I wanted to put it in and what I was going to do with it, and he made a recommendation, and I pulled the trigger, and those pickups are still in that guitar today. So, and I use that guitar all the time. Yeah.
He's the best, man. We go out for Thai food. He lives pretty close to me, so that's what we
cool.
usually we go out for Thai and just hang out. And then he's got Dave Friedman. I forget what he calls his shop. Like Wade's shop is in his house, and I think he calls it like the pickup hole or something funny. But when we go down there, and he's got a great setup, man. He's crank up amps and stuff. But no, Wade's a really wonderful guy.
Cool. Desiree asks, what guitar is he playing right now?
This is the Friedman NoHo 24. It's their new model. This is like I've been playing this one a lot since I've been hanging out at home these past couple of weeks. But I go between them, man. It's like it's cool being able to change it up a little bit, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. Now is that floating bridge, or is that against the body?
They come floating, but I block all my bridges, so you can't pull up on them.
Sure.
I'm kind of like an intonation nut. Like if that's one thing that drives me crazy. Like if it goes out a little bit, it goes out of tune, especially on stage, like makes me crazy. So I found like, especially traveling around, if you just block the Floyds, it just kind of makes it a little bit easier, you know.
Mm-hmm. And what gauge strings do you have on that guitar?
I play 10s. I usually play down a half step, so just 10 to 46.
So 10s, whether it's a Floyd or not.
Yeah, does that make a difference?
It's my opinion that Floyd Rose guitars, they run more like Ferraris with 9 through 42 or 9 through 46 on tuned down a half step. That's just my opinion. A lot of people may have different opinions than I do, but I think they just run the best on 9s. I play 10s on anything without a Floyd Rose, sometimes 11s. But anything that has a Floyd Rose on it, I play 9 through 42 at standard pitch and 9 through 46 at E flat.
That's interesting, man. I've thought about. It's weird, man. Like I'm always looking to try new stuff, but like with my main gear, like I'm like almost like superstitious or something about changing anything on it. You know, it's like every time I think, all right, yeah, I'm gonna try this new thing. Like I just end up not doing it for some reason, but I need to because I've always wanted to play nines because I've heard a lot of my friends have said, man, you got to switch to nines. Especially like I think there was like a video a couple months ago where everybody was switching like to really light strings, which was funny. Like even lighter, like eights or something.
Mm.
My the only person I've ever seen do that is my old band got to open for ZZ Top like years ago, and Billy Gibbons plays like sevens.
Sevens, yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and
Crazy.
he let me try his guitar, and it's awesome. Like if you've never, it's worth trying. Like if you've never tried it, it takes getting used to because like you know it feels weird, but
Yeah.
if you try it, it's like I can see why he does it. You know, but of course I asked him like, man, you got to break these, you know, and he looks at me, and goes, I've never broken a string. That's what he said. So I was like, that's cool.
And no one is going to argue about
Billy Gibbons.
Billy Gibbons' tone.
That's right.
I don't care.
Awesome.
He could play on Catgut, and he's going to sound like him. It's amazing.
I think the famous story is like he was using like 12s, and then I forget who. I think BB King told him to not work so hard. That's why he switched to really light strings.
Yeah.
I think that's the story. Yeah, he's a really good guy, an amazing guitar player. I was just watching him the other night. I was watching there's a new documentary on them.
It's a fantastic film. Yeah,
dude,
fantastic.
Isn't that awesome?
It's great.
I didn't know anything about the history of the band, really. You know, so it was like,
well,
wow, cool.
I didn't know it at that detail. I mean, they were just so open and honest through that entire film that it was very revealing.
Well, what's so cool, man, is like when they used to ask Hendrix who's the best new guitar player, they used to say Billy. Every time he'd say Billy Gibbons. Every time they asked him, he'd say, "Oh, Billy Gibbons." But what's cool is in the movie you see it's like, oh, it's because when they played with him or whatever, they were playing Hendrix songs, which is just amazing. Like opening for Hendrix and playing Hendrix, it's like crazy. I think they're opening. I don't know. They're on the single. But either way, yeah, that's cool. God,
that's phenomenal. I mean, he was Hendrix's favorite guitar player. I mean, what a badge! What a badge to get to wear.
I'm amazing.
I'm a huge Hendrix fan, man.
Oh, me too.
Huge Hendrix fan. Yeah, me too. There was actually we were talking about Steve earlier. Last time I saw him, he was talking about apparently there's this new, I forget the name of the record, but they redid. There's like a couple other performances of Hendrix at Fillmore East that they just put out.
Right.
And I was listening to it after he was telling me about it. That is seriously cool. Like hearing some of the other alternate takes of that band. It's like, wow. It was powerful, man.
What a band.
Amazing.
I mean, every player is playing. You know, what a band.
Oh, that's like once in a lifetime type thing. Yeah, just amazing. Hendrix is one of the best. Just amazing.
He taught us a lot in a very short amount of time. He left us with a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
crazy.
still processing this information 50 years later.
What's interesting is like you can listen to him, and every time you get something different. You know, you hear something different. And like when I was young, like I loved him, but I didn't appreciate him as much as I do now. You know. Because like I mean there's stuff where like I mean he's playing I like guitar players that are like always on the edge, like playing from the seat of their pants, you know. And he was that way every night, you know. It was different every single time, you know. And with that, like, you know, it's inevitable, you know, the shit goes wrong sometimes, you know. But with him it's like that's part of the beauty of it, you know.
Well, because when the ship went off course, he found a way to bring us back, right? And and sometimes it was graceful the way he brought us back, and sometimes it was a little less elegant the way he brought us back. But he still got us back, and he always had this fire to his playing that today we're still not able to really understand it fully.
Yeah, it's like the one I've heard somebody talking about it, but they were talking about like technique on guitar or whatever. And usually when people say technique, it's like speed and chops and stuff. But when you think about Hendrix, he had one of the most incredible techniques out of anybody who's ever played, because he could play one note so many different ways. Like that's something I think about all the time, you know. He could get so many different sounds, and he could play in so many different ways when he just held a note out, you know.
Right.
And that's something I think about now, like especially listening to some of those alternate takes like that they just put out. It's like, wow, it's different every time, you know. It's never the same way twice.
He's one of a kind. He was one of a kind.
Even the live recordings, the way he chose to voice chords were always well, not always, but oftentimes could be very different, just because of the way he was feeling that night, or the way he was singing that night, or the way Mitch was playing that night. He would voice chords differently, even though he's playing, you know, the same EAB,
same song.
Yeah. Right. So
yeah, that's one thing I like. That's one thing I talk with my buddies about a lot. It's like a lot of the time, like when you're playing in rock bands and stuff, even though you're playing the same song down and playing the same part, there's still improvisation in the way you play it, you know, even if technically maybe you're not totally playing a totally different, you know, playing a different part of the neck or whatever. Like the improvisation is how you play it, you know, and the feeling in that moment, you know. And he was just the ultimate. That band really was the ultimate master of that. Granted, they could go off into like total improvisation, you know, explorations too, which was sick. But
no question.
Yeah, they're just amazing, man. I listen to him a lot.
And I just love the way he did simple things, like the way he used a third in a chord, and then taking a simple nuance like that, and what that did for a whole different generation of players, what that did for, say, Robin Trower, or what that did for Stevie Ray, or what that did for, say, Kenny Wayne Shepherd or John Mayer. What that simple thing Hendrix did inspired these other players to adopt it and then, you know, move in a slightly different creative direction with those things. I mean, that's impact.
That's beyond guitar, man. That's like cultural. Yeah, he was like, he's an icon, you know. Yeah, he's just incredible. And people are still discovering new stuff about his playing all these years later, you know. That's almost 50 years ago. It is 50 years ago. Yeah, it's crazy.
No question.
I got a couple questions in the chat, but before I get to them, I just want to give a little public service announcement. If you like what you're seeing here on the show and you're really digging this, and you feel like hitting up with no obligation, if you feel like hitting us up on our virtual tip jar, the email address is dnrwb5150@aol.com. Again, no obligation, but every dollar helps. And it helps us to get more of these shows out here. We'll be here every Thursday. Again, no obligation, but if you feel like hitting up the virtual tip jar, it's dnrwb5150@aol.com. Rob's EVH Guitars and Fitness says, Sammy, how old were you when you started playing guitar, and what got you interested?
I was like 10 or 11, and I always loved rock music. I don't know. I think the first record I ever got was Kiss Greatest Hits, I think. Or I think I got that, and I got a Who record like the same day.
Oh, cool.
So that's like, I just really wanted to play guitar, you know. But soon after I got a guitar, I got really into it. My dad gave me a Van Halen album that was like kind of it.
It's over.
So that changed my life. Yeah, that was when when I first started playing, I played Day Tripper and Smoke on the Water for about 6 months straight. That's all I knew how to play. And then finally, you know, my parents said, please, you know, you can learn other music on the guitar. You don't only have to play Smoke on the Water over and over and over and over. So that's kind of like started me on the path of learning songs and learning records and stuff. So I was really young, you know.
Yeah. Fruitcake Tony asked us, and Sammy did kind of answer this before, but I'm going to ask the question again for Fruitcake. Does he work on his gear himself, or does he have a tech or an assistant?
I do most of it on my own. Like for building a rig, Dave helped me build a pedal board. Like when I was on the road with Citizen Zero, I had like just a makeshift board that was always frying, you know, just because I did it myself. So when we started doing the clinic tours, I was still using it. He's like, man, just let me help you with that. Like, so I just sent him my pedals, and he helped me, and it's helped a lot because now like a lot of the songs I play now, it's like I'll have a lot of effects changes at once, you know. So he hooked me up with this. Have you guys used these? Oh my god, what are they called? It's I use a Musicom Labs one. It's like a
switcher.
It's just a pedal switcher.
Yeah, switcher, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I'm
I have
using
a
that
switcher
now.
on
And
my
that's
pedal
been
board.
dude, that's a lifesaver. That has been like that's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It saves the switches on your pedals.
Yeah,
and
cool. You're not hitting your pedals all the time. Yeah. Which one do you use, man? You use the Musicom's one?
Actually, no. I have a guy here on Long Island, Pedal Racks, that does it.
Oh, I've heard of that. Those are good too.
Yeah, he's great. Skylar Shuck says Sammy's way too good of a guitar player. I've done a couple lessons with him, and he's always showing something new and cool to mess around with.
Dude, Skylar's one of my students. Yeah, he's awesome. He's a great guitar player.
Awesome. That's
Killer.
So cool.
Texas boy. Yeah, monster guitar player. That's one cool thing about teaching online now, man, is you meet great guitar players all over.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's cool. It's for me, like, it keeps me going. Like, it's an inspiring thing.
Yeah. And just to answer someone's question, Matthew Stewart asked if I gave Skype lessons. Yes, I do, Matthew. If you want to get in touch with me later on that, we can talk about that. Desiree Dornan says, Texas in the house. My fiance is from Texas. She's from Dallas, or just outside.
I love
of Dallas.
Texas, man.
Yeah.
I love my band used to play in Texas a lot. It's fun.
A lot of great guitar players in Texas.
Yeah, monster guitar players.
A lot of great players.
Amazing. Great musicians. Great musicians. It was awesome.
I was in Austin, Texas last year, and I was floored with how many people I came in contact with that were just incredible musicians. You know, whether they were guitar players, bass players, fiddle players, drummers, I just said it, drummers, musician. So just how great the players were.
It's amazing. Yeah,
they are. They're all great. You know, it seems like Texas players and Nashville players, no matter what the instrument it is, they're ridiculous. Everyone.
And Desiree says in the chat, 6th Street. Desiree, that's exactly where you couldn't walk down 6th Street and not bump into a great musician. You did. It was impossible. It's fantastic. Great environment.
Cool. I've never been to Austin, man. I've always wanted to go. That's the one city in Texas I haven't been to. I was going to play South by last year, but it just ended up not working out.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always wanted to go for South by Southwest. But Nashville's like that now too, bro. It's just everywhere. Everybody's a musician, you know.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Cool.
They're great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sammy,
a lot of musicians. Yeah,
go ahead. My buddy Brandon B. Squared, he makes cigar box guitars, and he asks, what would you say to a guy in his 50s just getting into guitar and learning to play? And yes, he's talking about himself.
Try to learn whatever you're listening to, whatever music you like. You know, if it's no matter how hard it is or simple, just try to pick up a part of it. You know, I think that's the best way to start with music. You know, actually playing songs. So try to pick it up. I mean, there's online. I mean, there's a million different resources. You know, but you know, I'd say just start there. Whatever you like the most, that's what you're gonna do the best. You know, and learn the fastest. I think so.
Yeah,
whatever you're into, try to figure it out.
Today with YouTube, it's pretty easy. Well, I won't say it's pretty easy. It's a lot easier than it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s when we were, you know, putting the needle on the record and saying, "What did he play?" Taking it off, put it back. You know.
I know, man. I feel lucky because I like started learning like right before YouTube was a thing, like right in the beginnings, I guess. But for me, like, I feel lucky because I only knew about a couple of guitar players. You know, like I only knew like 3 or 4 guitar players. You know, now it's like every time you pick up your phone, there's somebody else that's like incredible that you can check out. You know, but like for me, like it just I feel lucky because I could really focus on a couple different people that I really loved. You know, and try to get it down before jumping from one thing to the next. You know, all musicians do that, like jump from you know, oh, I'm working on this, I'm working on that. You know, but yeah, on YouTube, man, you can find anything on YouTube now. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. You're right. Gabriel Tone Guitars is funny. He says, I hear that David Nesdall is Philip McKnight's online guitar instructor. I taught Philip McKnight a couple of songs, bass lines to some of Larry Mitchell's songs. Philip had to do a gig with Larry and had to like cram to play bass on a few of his songs. So he asked me to help him out with that. So Gabriel Tone Guitars, awesome. Thank you so much for that plug. That's very funny. And,
Dude, Phil's a friend of mine, man. Phil's great.
I love Philip McKnight. He is People think I have a body of knowledge with this stuff. He towers over me with knowledge on guitars and stuff. He's crazy good.
I've learned a lot from talking to him, man. Wow.
Yeah.
He's really knowledgeable. He's really knowledgeable about YouTube too.
Yeah.
That's when I was learning a lot about just YouTube stuff from talking to him. But yeah, and of course gear. I mean, he'll answer any question about gear you can think of. It doesn't have to be guitars, it could be anything.
Yeah, and if he doesn't know it, he'll get back to you. He'll learn about it and get back to you. He's just that good.
Yeah, Phil's great, man. A super cool guy.
Yeah.
Great, man. That's cool. So wait, I didn't know he played with Larry Mitchell.
Yeah, he did a gig with Larry. Maybe it was in December or I don't know, November, something like that. And it was in Arizona. And he calls me up. He says, "You think you can teach me a couple of, just like give me in the right direction for a couple of bass lines for Larry's songs?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." I played in Larry's band when he lived up here in New York for a little while, and
oh wow, cool.
Rhythm guitar really, and he would throw me a solo every once in a while. But yeah, so Larry's been one of my best friends for the last 30 years. I probably know, if I don't know all of his songs, I know damn near all of them. So it's
that's
kind
so
of
cool, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know you played with him too. That's badass. That's super cool.
And it's funny because when he's up here, he'll say that I'm his teacher as well, because I and I'm like, we're just sitting here playing together, and it's Larry Mitchell. This is Larry Mitchell, and he's like, "Yeah, show me that." And
awesome.
he always gives me accolades for teaching him the songs he needed to learn for when he went on tour with Tracy Chapman and stuff like that. So I was like, coming from him, that I get embarrassed because Larry Mitchell, for God's sakes, and he's calling me his teacher. It's very funny.
That's you should be proud of that, man. That's really cool.
I'm super proud of it, but I'm also like, wow, that's
crazy.
That's pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy if you think of it, because I'm just a local guitar player. I play in bars here, for God's sakes. That's all I do.
That doesn't matter, man. You can learn from any musician you play with.
Yeah, I'm learning that. I'm learning that, and I'm humbled. I'm very humbled about that. It's super cool. But awesome, sitting here talking to you, I'm learning a shitload from you, which is really cool, and I appreciate it. I really appreciate you being here with us.
Yes.
Oh, thanks for having me on. This is really fun.
Yeah. One more thing before I forget. I want to talk about with the chat. I was gently and kindly nudged in one of my posts today that I need to start getting back to some of your comments on our videos, and I have to apologize. I'm not very good at that. I'll get better at that. And the person that said it is absolutely correct. I'm very gracious, and I thank every one of you for saying positive things on our videos and all the comments. And even if there's a negative comment, I appreciate that too. I'll start to get better at getting back to everyone on those, and I apologize for not doing that until today. Actually, I got back to everyone's comments today, but I had to be nudged to do that, and I apologize for that. So there, I said it.
There, done. So, hey, Dave, what type of guitar are you playing there? Is that one of the?
This is a guitar that I built. This is a Steve I Flame guitar. And
you built that?
Yeah. Me and my partner, I have a company called theguitarwhisperer.guru, and we build replica guitars, and this is one of them. This is my Steve I Flame guitar, and it's not a real performance neck. It's a neck from Musicraft that we put a performance decal on, and pretty much this. If you look at the guitar from the Going Crazy video. This is that guitar. This is that guitar. Now, Steve had 3 or 4 of these. He had a different one when he was on tour with Whitesnake, slightly different colors, and it had an Ibanez neck on it, which I believe Thomas McRockland owns that guitar now. Steve gave it to him for his birthday one year when he was younger. But this is an exact replica of the one you'll see on the Going Crazy video. I think the only difference is by the time he had the Going Crazy video, he had painted the headstock red. It was black, and then he painted it red. But I wanted it to be exactly as the guitar was given to him. And
that is so cool.
That
is
guitar,
really cool.
Yeah, that's this guitar. Yeah, for
And
those of you, did I cut
build
the body? No,
Yeah.
no. The body is pre-cut from K&E guitars, and the neck is made is a Musicraft neck. My buddy painted it. My buddy who works with me, in this business, he does the painting, and I just put them together.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, it's really one of my favorite guitars. I'm proud of this guitar. I'm proud that, I mean, everything, even down to the tuning pegs. These are old, early '80s crown head Godot tuners that were on the original. So, and go find them. I dare you to go find a set. You can't find them anywhere. And if you do, they're expensive. So
I'm sure.
I was able to find a set of these, and when I build these guitars, I do my damnedest to get period correct stuff. And if you see it on the guitar, it's going to be on the replica. The only difference, I'm going to show you this guitar real quick, because
Dave, what pickup is in that flame guitar?
the flame guitar has a Pariah Pasadena Black in it.
Okay.
That's what Vi was using?
No, that pickups are a different story with me. If it looks the part, it's good enough as long as you like the pickup. You got to like the pickup is kind of like it's all according to your ear, My favorite pickup, I think, is the Duncan JB. But that pickup is very JB like, and I believe JB was in the original guitar. And our friend Sean Christopher at Pariah Pickups is a great guy, and he makes amazing pickups. And I have his pickups on a lot of my guitars. But he makes great. I'm not going to say they're replicas, but homage to the pickups of our lifetime. Like, he'll make you, if you say I want something more like a Duncan Distortion, he'll make something very, very close to that, and he's great at it. So check out Pariah Pickups as well.
I've heard of those. I've heard of those. I've wanted to check them out. That's cool. I'm gonna look him up when we get off. He's
a great guy. He's on Facebook. Contact him on Facebook and check him out. He's a super nice guy. So
that's awesome.
I built this guitar as well, and well, actually, I didn't build this one, but I build ones just like this one. I've built them before. This one in particular is not built by me, but I've built a lot of these, and it's going to look exactly like this guitar as well. The only difference being, like I said, when this is like a modern day 5150 with the 7th tuning peg. The only difference between mine and the one I would build you is I can't find this prototype style Floyd FRT5, which is actually on Eddie's guitar. Now, this one's a reissue made by a guy named Jim Francis. It's a replica of it, which is, exact to what you would find in 1981 or 1982, early 1982.
So cool.
So you would get today's Floyd Rose on a build like this. It just it so happens I had ordered this when he was having them built, and that's what makes mine more like the, closer to the original. But if you were to get one of these for me, it would look exactly like this, or I would make it any era that you want. If you wanted it to look like 1988 or 1984, hardly relict, however you want the guitar, I make it look like that. The only difference being it would have a 1984 reissue Floyd on it, which is cool. This bridge right here. Hang on, let me get this. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, so the 84 reissue bridge is this.
That's so
cool.
It
looks similar, but it's not quite the same. Great bridge, though.
Are they top mounted?
Yes.
They are.
Oh, wait, you mean at the nut?
I was talking about just on the body.
Yes, on the body. They're top mounted, no pulling back.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, they're flush to the body. I don't know if you can see that at all. They're flush to the body.
That, man. That's sick.
This is a JB. This is an old 80s JB. And when you plug this guitar in and you strum chords on it, although I'm not saying I'm Eddie Van Halen, but when you strum a chord on it, this guitar sounds like Eddie Van Halen. It really does. And not because it's got stripes on it. This particular guitar just happens to sound like that 84 to 88 sound. It just does.
That's cool.
I love that era of his guitar sound too.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I want one now. That's not fair. Wait a minute.
Sammy, what's your
thing's
favorite
sick.
Van Halen album?
Oh, I don't know. I love it all. I mean, I got into it on the first one, obviously. I think like a lot of people did, but I don't know. I like it all. I like all the eras. And I like his sound throughout all the eras too. Like even though it changed a lot. Like I think the guitar tone on 5150 is sick. You know.
Yes.
Yeah. I also really like the guitar tone on Balance too, which is kind of like an underrated album. But what about you, man?
Well, Fair Warning's my record. I mean,
yeah.
I came in on Van Halen 1 as well. My favorite guitar tone. This is where I'm going to get flamed in the chat, full of Ed heads. My favorite Van Halen tone is Van Halen 2.
Me too. I was going to say that. Yeah, me too.
That's my favorite Van Halen tone, and but my favorite record is Fair Warning.
Cool. Those
are good answers. Yeah, awesome. Go ahead.
Real quick, I just want to say hi to my friend Joshua Jones. He's in the chat. He's Sammy. If you get a chance to check out Joshua, he's a super young guy and he's an amazing guitar player. I mean, like
awesome.
Ridiculous chops. Sweetheart.
Does he have really big hair? I think I met him.
Yes.
Does he have really big hair?
He has really big hair. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guitar player. That's awesome, man. Hey, Josh.
Yeah. And on this guitar, I just wanted to also say the paint job on this guitar was done by a buddy of mine in Michigan, Chris Hubbard. I don't know if you know who Chris Hubbard is, also another fantastic, great guitar player. He painted this guitar and sent it to me, and I put it together, and my partner actually did the relicking of this fretboard to make it look like Eddie's guitar.
The relicking on the neck is
the relicking on the fretboard is just crazy.
Yeah, like, it's really cool.
If you looked at this guitar and you looked at Eddie's guitar from, say, 1988, you would think that this neck was off of his guitar.
Oh, so he actually matched it to the.
He matched it. Yeah, he matched it. Yeah, he taped everything off and then with pencil marked exactly where all the relic marks are, and then X-Acto knifed it and just did the. I mean, it was crazy. And that's what we do. So if you want a guitar like this, we'll do the same thing to your guitar. The attention to detail is going to be insane. So awesome. And I don't discuss prices on the internet. So if you want to get in touch with me outside of this, if you have my number, fine. You can contact me on theguitarwhisperer.guru and talk to me about it there, or if you have my email address. That's fine there. So that's the shameless plug for the night.
That's bad. That's not shameless, man. That thing is so cool. I've always wanted a Frankenstrat, man. But it's super, super cool. That's badass.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Ty, what do you play, man? What's your main axe?
Well, it depends on what I'm playing.
I'll
show you something. This will look familiar to you.
Oh man.
So there's nothing really special about this guitar other than it just is. I mean, it shouldn't be great, but it just is great. This is a 2008 custom shop with a hot head and a black belt.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
This is it. This is the guitar I was talking about that Wade hooked me up with.
Dude, we have very similar tastes. That's bizarre. That's awesome.
I really like this. This has all been tone pro'd. This is locked down. It had a new nut put on it a couple of years ago by a really, really great Les Paul guy. He owns a company called Abalone Vintage Guitars. His name is Eric, and he just knows everything about a Les Paul. And then in here is an RS Guitar Works vintage modern wiring kit. I don't know why this plays the way it plays. It just does. I mean, it just does. I love it, and I play this a lot. I call it the security blanket. In that when you just need to play and you don't need to think, you just for whatever reason I've just gravitated toward that guitar for years. I think I bought it in I think I got it in 2010, 2011, somewhere in that neighborhood.
That's so cool, man.
I'm a big
That's a
fan
beautiful
of
guitar.
Thank you. I'm a big fan. It's pretty dinged up. I'm not very gentle with them. I'm a big fan of Black Les Paul Customs. I always have a few of them. But this one right here, for whatever reason, is the one that, and I've got a 68 reissue I really like, but I like that one for whatever reason. So
that's cool. Did you find a big difference? Like, I've never really messed around with doing like swapping the bridges out, like a Tone Pros bridge or anything like that. Did you notice a big difference in the sound?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. And you buy a custom shop guitar and they go to great lengths to make those guitars great. But for a rock machine, and the sustain, especially with the kind of gain you're going to play with something like this, I felt that I thought there was a big difference with the Tone Pros. Yeah. Also, I like, for whatever reason, and this is just my opinion, and I know other guys have other opinions. For whatever reason, I like this screwed down all the way to the body. So I like the tailpiece down on the body, and I don't wrap the strings. This guitar set up for standard. It's going through the tailpiece the way it was originally designed, and it's just set up for 10 through 46. And I like it that way. I kind of felt the Tone Pros, when it's locked down and it's against the body like that, it felt more resonant to me. And
awesome.
Yeah. So
there's a bit more resistance on the strings as well. That's why the 10s on your Les Paul feel so good, because it's a shorter guitar than a Strat.
Yep.
And having that bridge all the way down to the body gives you a little bit more resistance and a little less slinkiness, and it makes the 10s feel a little beefier than they really are. So I can understand that. I do the same thing on my Les Paul as well. That bridge tailpiece is hunkered down all the way.
Yeah, and Ben, I hear you, man. Ben Coombs just said I like the feel of top wrap. It's more slinky. I hear you, and I agree. It is, but for whatever reason, I like it pushing back on me just a little bit. It helps me, especially with bends, and this guitar I can tap with too. Even though the frets aren't real skinny and high, this guitar will tap well. And
that's cool.
Yeah, so it's a player's guitar. So it's a good one.
I love the black and chrome too, man. I've always liked that combination on a Les Paul Custom.
Oh, yeah,
black and chrome hardware. That's classy.
Didn't Randy Rhoads have one of those as well? Didn't he have one with also with black coils showing?
I don't know the story with that. I've seen the pictures of him playing one.
I thought that was like a real 50s Les Paul, like a late 50s Les Paul that was just in his possession.
I don't know. I don't know if it was his or like he just had it. I think the story is it was just there for the photo shoot or whatever. Like, I don't know if he ever, or maybe that's what I remember about that, but I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, I'm not a big Randy head, so I don't know the real deal, but there are a lot of pictures of him with that guitar. And there's something about a black Les Paul Custom that's just so cool, you know?
It's so cool, man. It's just a Les Paul through like a half stack. Then you're going. You know, you can you get magic powers when that happens.
You know what? For me, the black Les Paul Custom for me is when I saw John Sykes playing one on the Thunder on that Thin Lizzy record that he was on, the Thunder and Lightning record, and listening to Cold Sweat. I mean, that just rocked my world. And then seeing him do the Crying in the Rain thing with Coverdale, and then the '87 record. The black Les Paul Custom for me just always had a mystique about it. And I was a young guy in the '80s, so always had a mystique for me. It inspired me to play, and that's what That's what I always, viewed as, when I get good enough to play, that'll be the guitar that I go after, And
I used to think that when I was young too. Yeah, it's like my dream guitar. I just want to get a black Les Paul custom.
Man.
It's like just a classic.
I think that's everybody's dream is to get, one day have a Les Paul. One day I gotta have a Les Paul. It's like the thing that you reach for one day. It's pretty crazy.
My dream now is to get an old one. Now it's like I have a friend who's like kind of like a vintage gear collector.
Yeah,
and he's let me borrow some old amps and stuff. And he's got a couple really old guitars now, and it's just like, I don't know. There's something special about old Gibsons, old Fenders. It's like, I don't know. There's just like magic in them, because it's all the years of people, especially ones I like ones that have been played a lot.
Yeah,
like ones that are kind of that beaten up. As opposed to just sitting under the bed for 50 years or whatever. I don't know. There's something comes out of them when you play them. I don't know. It's hard to explain, even if they're not perfect.
I've only played one, and about 3 years ago, I had an opportunity to play a real '59 Burst, and the owner of that guitar was just very generous, and giving me the opportunity to play it. And it was a religious experience. It was really, really special, and it was really good, and it played it. And I have a lot of, I like Les Pauls, and I know a lot about Les Pauls, and I'm very familiar with Les Pauls. that 59 Burst was different. It felt different. It sounded different. It was a lot lighter than this guitar.
Yeah, they generally come in around 8 to 9.5 pounds usually.
The neck shape on the real one that I played was much thinner, and this has the rounded 50s profile. It does not have the neck joint that yours does either, Sammy. But so mine's got more of the traditional neck joint.
That's cool though. I like that though. That's cool.
The real Burst, the neck was much thinner than I imagined them to be. And now my point of reference is only one, but I was surprised at a few things. One, how light the guitar was. Two, how much it rang. It just rang. Three, how thin the neck was, and then to my perception, it was by no means a wizard kind of neck. I mean, it was just thinner than what I perceived it to be. And then lastly, just how articulate the guitar was. It was a very honest guitar, and the player really came through that guitar. So it was really a very special experience, and I'll never be able to thank him enough, for that little while I got to have with that.
So
guitar.
Cool.
Yeah. I happen to be lucky enough to live in an area where I got to play several late 50s and 1960 Les Pauls, and most of them, Ty is absolutely right. Most of them having smaller necks than any reissue you've ever played. They have a lot less shoulders on them. So they perceive to be smaller in your hands because there's less shoulders. Now, that being said, some of them were big. Most of them were on the smaller side. They're all just ridiculous. Every time I get to play a 59 Les Paul, the hair on my arms stand up. And
that's amazing.
It's definitely
so cool.
It's a pleasure to be able to play. You should, if you have a chance to go to any music stores that may have one, just ask. Hey, is there any chance I can put my hands on a 59 Les Paul or 58 Les Paul or 60?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
The only time I don't know, I shouldn't say that, but I guess from playing like that type of experience where you're just like, you just hit one note and it just goes forever, we did a clinic at Chicago Music Exchange.
Yeah.
And Rick Nielsen, which is amazing. You've been super
great
cool. Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick is involved with them, so they have a lot of his guitars there. And before the clinic, we went up and they have his Explorer from Live at Budokan, which is like a '58 Carina Explorer.
Oh yeah.
And I got to play that.
Oh wow.
And that is like, first of all, I'd never gotten to play a Carina guitar before, which I've always like. You hear all the stories about Eddie playing the Carina V and stuff like that, you know. But that was a really, really special guitar. It was like a real '58, and I love Explorers, so I have an Explorer. That's like one of my favorite guitars. So just getting to play that one, it's just like kind of a similar thing to what you said, Ty, where it's like it's really responsive, you know, like bizarrely responsive, you know.
Incredible. I love Explorers too. I love how throaty they are. That big piece of mahogany. I think when I was doing research for this interview, Sammy, I think I read that you bought an Explorer off of Craigslist, and you actually you took it on tour with you, right? So off of Craigslist onto tour.
Oh yeah, I buy everything used, man. Rarely do I get anything new. But yeah, I got that in high school. I think it was like $400. It was something stupid, but we used to do a couple songs in drop B tuning, so really low. And I had that in drop B. I used to play it every night. It was killer. When you play an Explorer that low of a tuning, it is just like, I mean, you're just pounding. The tone is so good. It's so cool.
That's cool.
But one thing with that, the experience of playing that guitar in such a low tuning on a Gibson scale length, which is like, for anybody that's experimented a lot with tuning down, like the shorter the scale length, the slinkier the strings are, which I learned from this. And so I had to put like really, really heavy strings on it. Like I think on the bottom it was like a 68. It was like as heavy as I could find. Yeah, but it sounded so good.
Did you have to make the nut slot larger?
I think I did. Yeah, I did. And I kind of made a custom set because I hate having a wound G. So like if you try to buy like a set of 12s, they usually have a wound G string.
Yes.
So I built like a custom set, but I remember the bottom was a 68. That's almost like a bass string.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You didn't like the feel of the wound string
on the G string?
Yeah.
No, because for bending, man.
You know, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was never into that, but I mean, it's cool. I think it was just one of those things where it worked at the time. But one thing from messing with it, like that guitar kind of got used to being in that tuning. And when we got off the road, I put it back in standard, and that took some adjusting. That's a lot for a guitar to go through. Going from that big of a change.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool. I still have it. It's in the other room. I play that all the time.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a good axe.
Yeah, I love Gibson guitars or Gibson style guitars. I've got a few myself that I'm in love with. People have seen them on the show before, so they're pretty cool. A couple SGs, a Les Paul, good stuff.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's all good, man.
I mean, I know you're from Detroit Rock City. I love, you know, when we think of Gibson guitars and we think of Gibson rock, you know, guitars that Gibson makes for rock music. I mean, we automatically think of the Les Paul and the Explorer. I love an ES335.
Oh, me too.
Or that too, you know. I mean, an ES335 through a small box. Yes, there's some magic.
Sick tone, man.
There's some magic right there.
One of my dear friends is named Dave Black. He's like a Detroit, really well known guitar player in Detroit for years. But that's what he was playing.
He played guitar in Seduce, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
He's one of the gnarliest guitar. He's one of my favorite guitar players. He's amazing. But he wouldn't like. I never mind. Yeah, he's amazing. But he was using a 335 through that type of rig for a long time, with like super high gain, just powerful, you know. And he showed me some clips of him doing that. And it's just like it's such a cool sound. 335 through like a Marshall type rig is like killer.
It is great. It is great. This is actually one of my favorites here. It's an original 1962 SG Junior or Les Paul SG Junior.
Sweet.
It's killer. It rings.
It looks like Pete Townsend, man. Looks like a Pete Townsend guitar.
Yeah. That just rings forever.
Yeah. Isn't that like Pete was playing that like on Isle of Wight, right?
Actually, I think he played a double pickup, double P90, a special.
Double P90.
Yeah.
It's cool.
But man, this guitar, it's just killer.
That's badass, man. Is that an old one or
Yeah,
what
it's
year is that?
real 62. Yeah.
Oh, is it really? Shit.
Yep.
Wow.
The only thing changed on it was the tuning pegs because the old ones were just falling off. They were
They fall off.
crumbled. They were crumbling. So I put these on, and the original ones are in the case. But yeah, this is
That's a beautiful guitar.
amazing guitar and in great shape.
So cool. God, that's cool.
Still has all the red on it.
How'd you find it so like it looks like brand new?
Well, I'll tell you, this guitar belongs to a buddy of mine. His name is Mike Rocker. I went to high school with him. And like 3 or 4 months back, he brought it over to me and said, could you set this guitar up for me? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I did. And as I'm saying, I set it up and I had it for like a week before I picked it up, and I started playing it, of course, and fell in love with the guitar. And he was like, well, you want to hold on to it? And I said, no. I just set this guitar up for you. Take it home and play it. And when you get sick of it, if you want to give it back to me, I'm more than happy to take it back.
Yeah.
So he played it for like a month, and he was like, yeah, it just sits there. Do you want to hold on to it? If I ever want it back, I'll take it back from you. Are you sure? He says, yeah, you live in town. I know where to get you. If I want the guitar back, I'll take the guitar back. So I've had it now for, I think 4 months now. And so I play the guitar. Cool. Yeah. Now, so I'll say that I don't own this guitar, but it's, I believe, on very, very extended loan.
Mm-hmm.
So, and,
awesome.
When he wants it back, he'll get it back.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a similar situation with a friend of mine named Mark Stewart, who's like around here. He's like he was who I was talking about earlier, has the vintage guitars and stuff, but he brought over a Marshall like last year, like a 68. And the same thing. I'm like, you can't just leave that here. He's like, no, it's just gonna sit. I'm like, no, I didn't want to have that here, but I use it all the time. I mean, it's sick, having access to stuff like that. I mean, it's just like you can't really match it like that, like you can't get an SG that's new that sounds like that,
Yeah, and I have a custom shop SG 61 SG that I'm in love with.
That's what I have back here.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, they're great guitars. I love that guitar. But man, when I pick up an SG, this is the one I pick up. This is just the one. And I know it's not humbuckers, but anyone who hasn't played a P90, I suggest go getting, or at least putting one in your hands, because
They're one of the best.
P90 is a sleeper. It's such a sleeper pickup. You're like, it's a single coil. It's not really. It's a single coil, yes, because you get the 60 cycle hum. But when you plug this into a Marshall or anything with gain in it, chances are you're not going to go back to humbuckers. It's just, and you with one pickup and a tone knob and a volume knob, you would think this is a one-trick pony. You can create lots of different sounds with this one guitar just by using the volume and tone knob. It's crazy. I never really respond. I always used to think, one pickup P90, try it, and you'll become a believer. I'm such a believer that I bought a Nags Kanai J, which is a one pickup Nags guitar, just waiting to get it. But because of this guitar, I had to get one for myself, and it just so happens I bought a Nags. I've
always wanted.
Great.
Nags are badass.
Yeah,
those are really nice. I've always wanted a guitar with P90s too. They're a lot of people's favorite pickup, especially for recording.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's so many songs you hear on all different genres of P90s. At the studio I work at, there's an SG with mini humbuckers. I don't know if you guys have played a lot of guitar with mini hums.
I don't think I've ever seen one with mini hums.
Dude, it's I think it's a 70s SG. It's repainted. They finished it red, white, and blue. It looks hilarious. But I use for a lot of doubling tracks. I use that guitar. Like for some reason, like a humbucker combined with that mini humbucker SG just sounds really, really good. So yeah, if you can find one, check those out. They're hard to find, like other than like Les Paul Deluxes, but mini hums are awesome.
Yeah, they are. My friend Tube Supio in the chat says, Amber Alert, missing 1962 Gibson SG Jr.
Oh, is that his guitar?
No, it's not his, but it's very funny.
Oh, yeah. Dude, yeah, that's awesome. Amber Alert.
Oh, that's so funny.
Where's my SG?
90s. Let me. You know what? Let me get to the chat really quick. We're getting to that point where we gotta start talking to these people here.
Hey, Ben Coombs says, my first electric guitar had mini hums in 1972, Les Paul Deluxe. That is the first time I played mini humbuckers in a 1972 Les Paul Deluxe.
Those are great.
Yeah,
I've always wanted a Deluxe. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Brendan B. Squared says, I really like the look of the Jared James Nichols signature Epiphone. Have any of you played one? No, but a Les Paul with a P90 in it, one P90 sounds very tempting. It sounds great.
I've played that guitar.
West, man.
I've played Jared's signature Epiphone guitar. It's a great guitar. You get a lot of guitar for $600. Great guitar.
I'm looking forward to playing one.
Yeah, great guitar.
Me too. I want to try one, man. I like him a lot. I think he's really.
I do too.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's cool. I forgot it was a P90 in it. Sweet.
Yeah. Joshua Jones says, "Got to practice. I'll watch the rest later. Peace, guys. See you later, Josh."
Peace.
See you later.
Yeah, cool stuff. So, what else you got up there? Let's take a look at that Telecaster, shall we?
Oh, yeah, I'll grab one sec.
Or that gold top.
That gold top's great. This is a this is like I've had this since I was really young, man. This is a 57 reissue, but it's a 1987, so it's like before the custom shop.
Cool.
Dark back? This was like my first like dark back. Yeah, correct. Yeah. This is a monstrous guitar. I play this all the time. No, it's all stock. I've broken some stuff on it. Other than that, just replace like knobs and stuff. But really, really great guitar.
Cool.
Yeah, it's killer. And it's cool you knew it was a dark back. That's like a lot of. I don't even know if they make dark back Les Paul.
Custom shop every once in a while will do a dark back, and sometimes they'll do a black back, which is cool too. But most of them are light colored backs. Every once in a while they'll do a run of that dark color. But the black backs are cool also because when you see a black back, it's going to have the serial number stamp is going to be white, which is kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's sweet.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that was a thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I like the dark back stuff because that's what you saw in the late 50s. They were all dark back.
This guitar sounds phenomenal. It's really heavy and it's really thick. I think that's why it sounds so good. But the pickups are really, really great too. I think it's a little bit different than. I think they're similar to 57 Classics, but I think it's before they even made those. If I'm not mistaken, it's in 1987. So it's like really low output. Pickups, but really clear, really great sounding.
I like low output pickups.
Me too. I always have too.
Yeah, because you get to hear the wood of the guitar. It's not the metal of the pickups.
Right. It's like the real natural woody tone. Yeah. And this one, I got this one cranked all the way down too. I like that too with the stop tail pieces. So yeah, this is a good guitar. The telly's nothing special, man. This one's another Craigslist find. It's nothing crazy. It's just a Mexican telly, but the only cool thing about it is the pick guard.
That is cool.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's beautiful.
That looks pretty cool. Yeah, it's really funny. I left this at the studio. It's really funny. I left this at the studio for like a couple months because they didn't have a telly. And do you guys know who Ray Parker Jr. is?
Oh yeah.
He did a session there, and my friend was engineering the session where he was playing, and they're taking a video of him playing in the studio, and he's playing this guitar.
That's so funny.
And I was just like, dude, are you serious? Playing my telly? That's awesome. So they put this funny, I don't know if you guys can see, but they labeled it Ray Parker Jr. played me. So that's on the back of this. So I guess this thing has two cool things.
That's awesome.
Ray Parker Jr. is a great guitar player.
Oh, I was freaking out when I saw that video. He's wailing. I mean, it's amazing. He's really, really good.
He's from that LA studio musician scene, man.
Oh, he's phenomenal.
He is fantastic.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he's from Detroit originally.
Okay.
I think I'm not. I might be wrong on that, but no, he's awesome.
Man,
yeah, awesome.
he play.
I only knew Ghostbusters. Before,
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I'm sure he doesn't mind being associated with, you know, a multi-million-dollar hit song, but you know, as a LA session player, I mean, back in the 70s and 80s, I mean, you had to be game. I mean, it was so many great players doing that thing. So in order for him to carve out a niche for himself in that arena, he had to be awesome.
He's phenomenal, man. Yeah, and especially back then, that was like a really special time in history, you know, for especially LA guitar, man. That's like all the legends, Michael Landau and Luke Thur. I mean, he was doing sessions. Yeah, doing sessions with all those guys. That's crazy. Around the same time, at least. But yeah, Ray Parker Jr. is cool. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other guitars that are cool that I can show you. I'm gonna pull one out of the closet. Right?
Sure, and then tell us about that. That looks like a vintage Fender amp. There is that a vintage Fender amp?
That's my buddy Mark's. This one's on Ambler Alert too. It's an old Vibroverb.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
That's a 115 Vibroverb.
Dude, yeah, it sounds stupid. It sounds so good.
I bet it does.
But, yeah, I've been doing a lot of like I do a lot of like I play on a lot of other people's tracks and stuff, and I've been doing them here just with a load box, and I end up using that a lot because it's for clean guitar. It's like you can't beat it.
You can't beat it. Yeah, I have a 65 Super Reverb 410 that.
Oh wow!
You can't get better than those. It's just those old blackface amps. I mean, let's see if I can get over here. This is my rig. This rig here. Normally, it's a wet dry wet thing with the 5150 is the head, and then that's my buddy Jack from Rock and Roll Amps here on Long Island. He built like a 100-watt super plexi kind of thing, like a high gain plexi, kind of like the one you have behind you, and that's how I do the wet dry wet. But since it's so hard to play that in this room in this house because it's so loud. But yeah, that and the 65 Super Reverb, you don't really need much else.
It covers a lot of ground, man.
Yeah,
I've talked to Friedman about that. Like, all right, if you're building a studio, what amps do you really need? And it's like I forget what he knocked it down to, but it's like you need one high gain amp for sure. You need like a Marshall Plexi type, right? Mm-hmm. You need a Fender, like Super Reverb or like that, something to cover all the clean ground. A Vox, like an AC30, which I used an AC30 on a lot of the record too.
Yeah, there's a lot of jangly sound out of those EL84s. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. For something like that Les Paul tapping through it, like they have an old AC30 at the studio. That's a special sound. And then he said you need a high watt too, which I think is cool, like an old high watt.
Wow. I would never have thought that. I would have never thought of that amp, but yes, I mean, listen to Gilmore.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm like that's pretty cool. Like he said you can get it done with those. I'm pretty sure that was the list. It was 5. But I kind of agree, like no matter what you're doing, like that's especially like I don't know, that covers a lot of different styles too, not just rock,
Mm-hmm. Cool.
But, cool. All right, I'm gonna grab this guitar one sec.
Sure. Yeah. How awesome is that? And so while he's getting a guitar, let's talk about the giveaways. Shall we?
Yeah.
So the guitar is on its way, you said?
The guitar is on its way.
And we don't know what it is just yet?
Don't know what it is.
Okay, so we don't know what the guitar is, but we are going to have a giveaway sometime down the road, and you have to subscribe to my YouTube channel to be eligible to get stuff. And again, I'm going to say what they are. So far, we have 12 David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile unused passes, backstage passes, which I think are pretty cool. They're nostalgic. They're different colors as well. I have blue, red, and silver, I believe. Now, I don't know which one signified what part of backstage you were getting into. I'm not sure, but I have them. and I'll show them on the next show. They're in another room. We have a TC Electronics digital delay alter ego pedal that we're giving away. We have a signed Eric Steckel CD, his newest CD coming out.
Yes.
We're going to have a TC Ditto Looper signed by Larry Mitchell, and he'll be on next week
Nice.
to show us how to use one. Ty, also, we need to send that to Larry for him to sign, and he needs to use it for the show next week because he has his out on loan.
I'll send it to Larry tomorrow.
Okay. All right, I'll give you his address. We have one Skype guitar lesson with Andy Alador. Now, that is cool in itself. I mean, anyone who knows anything from Andy Alador, he is the quintessential teacher. Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, he's got a book called Texas Flood Out. That's a New York bestseller right now.
Guitar World, man. All those lessons in Guitar World. Tons.
He was.
He's awesome.
He was a senior editor of Guitar World for many, many years, and then before that, Guitar for the Practicing Musician. And the grand prize is going to be a guitar that's going to be set up by yours truly.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't know what the guitar is just yet. Neither one of us do, but as soon as we have it in hand, we will show it. Am I right by saying, Sammy, that you're going to throw in a signed, an autographed CD of yours?
Yeah, I'm going to mail it out. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Very generous.
Oh, no problem. Happy to do that. No problem. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm trying to win one of those Eat 'em and Smile passes. So I don't know.
So there'll be 11 of them to give away. I'll give you one.
No, I'm just. You don't have to
those passes actually come from our friend Fruitcake Tony, who's in the chat. And
what was that? Oh, he's getting one too.
Yeah. Well, he gave them to us to give away.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony.
How did he get them? What's the story with that again?
I believe he worked with all these bands back when they were. He might have been in the road crew, or he may. I'm not sure. Fruitcake Tony, if you're in the chat, tell us how you got these things.
That's cool. That's like
he may have left
history,
for the evening. I'm not sure. I thought I saw him say goodnight earlier, but if not, I'll we'll find out on the next one. I'll let you know. He'll tell me.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, if there's anything else, I can just let me know. It's awesome.
Yeah.
There was a question. There was a question for Sammy a second ago from Fisherman 6798. John and Greg Dudley played on a track for the album. What was it like to play with them again?
Oh, they're awesome. So for anybody who doesn't know, they were the guitar, or excuse me, the drummer and bass player in my old band Citizen Zero, and we kind of like grew up playing together. They're like my two favorite musicians, man, and they're brothers. So it's like when you're playing with brothers as a rhythm section, that's like a really special thing in itself, That's
cool.
But the album was done, and we went back and cut that song last. So even though it ended up being like the title track, we went back and did that, and that's like. We did it like we used to when we were kids, cutting in the studio, like almost completely, just going again, trying to get a great take, trying to get a live take, all in the same room, So that was really, really cool. I'd played with John a lot, but I hadn't played with Greg, the bass player, in a long time. So that was really, really cool.
Cool.
It was definitely a highlight of the album for sure.
That's awesome.
Cool.
So tell us about the guitar in your hand.
This is an ES150, I think D or TD. D. So it's deep. So I don't have a 335, but this looks like a 335, except it's about twice as thick.
My goodness.
It's kind of a weird. Yeah, it's a really weird, kind of like an obscure model. But
now let me guess the year. Is that 65 or 66?
I wish it's 71. So
okay.
Close. But this is an amazing guitar. And the really weird, the most bizarre thing about this is it has a master volume right here.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. Like a Gretsch.
Yeah, it's almost like a Gretsch. Yeah, but it's got a really unique sound. And like I've kind of always been one of those guys that like I like using gear in ways that like it's not really intended for. So like I'll use this to like cut like really heavy guitars and stuff. And I produce a lot of bands in Detroit, and for some reason bands always want to play this guitar. It's like it's become like a really cool thing. Like it's cool to see people use your stuff in a way that like maybe you wouldn't have naturally, you know.
Mhm.
So I've kind of found a lot of different uses for this thing over the years.
That's
So
very
yeah, this
cool.
one it's been sitting in the closet. I think I'm gonna leave it out now, even though I don't want it to get messed up because the weather's changing. But it's all good.
How did that guitar find you?
That's a great story. When I was in high school, I had this really wonderful teacher named Peter Tolius. So like when I first started learning how to play guitar, it was like all by ear, you know. Like I knew how to like read a little bit of music and stuff, but not on guitar. But when I got into high school, the orchestra director at my school, Peter, he was actually the classical guitar player or classical guitar instructor at Wayne State University, which is a big college in Detroit, before teaching orchestra.
Right.
So he like knew that I played and stuff, and we just became really good friends. Like really early, I was really young, like just freshman in high school, and he got me into like learning how to read on guitar, got me into like trying to play jazz changes, you know, like he really like taught me music theory, and when I was graduating high school, he gave me this. It was like one of the nicest things. Yeah, it was like just a really sweet thing. But it's definitely like a treasured guitar, you know.
I love guitars with stories.
Yep.
Yeah. I couldn't like surprise me. I was just like, you know, shocked. But it's beautiful, man. Yeah, it's a really great guitar. Even though it's a jazz box, you know, I probably should be playing, you know, Autumn Leaves on it or whatever. But oh well. Yeah, it's a great axe.
That reminds me.
Go ahead.
No, please.
No, I was just gonna say I just talked to him for the first time in a while, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I like guitars with stories, and our friend Caleb Rappaport from a band called Nerd Halen out on the West Coast.
I know him. Yeah, I know
he
him.
He has this thing that he's doing on Facebook and on Instagram called #ThisGuitarRightHere, and basically it's he does a little video, and I've been doing it as well, and a few of our friends have been doing it. Have been doing these 1 minute videos, 1 minute or so videos of each of your guitars, and you tell a little bit about the guitars, and if it has a story behind it, you tell the story and try to get it in 1 minute. And during COVID-19, instead of hearing all about COVID-19 all over the internet, you get to hear and see people's guitars and hear about them, a little background about them. So I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. So, you know, if you have some time, Sammy, if you want to do that on Instagram, basically you just do a little video with your iPhone, and then do the hashtag in the heading called #ThisGuitarRightHere, and put it out. I think people would really be interested in hearing about your guitars and seeing them.
That's a wonderful idea.
I've been doing.
You started that, or
no? Caleb did. Caleb did, and he asked me and pretty much everyone to start doing it, and it's just a great idea. It passes the time away while we're all stuck in the house, and I think it's a cool thing. You get to know your buddy and their guitars, and if there's a cool story behind them, it's just cool. So
that's awesome.
Anyone in the chat. Also, you know, if you feel like doing that as well, please do. Tell a little story about your guitars, 1 minute long, no more than 2 minutes long. You know, you can tell what they are, the name, what the pickups, you know, the wood, what the woods are made of, and if there's a story behind it. And under the title, just call it #ThisGuitarRightHere. It's kind of cool.
Great. That's a really cool idea.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, that's really, really cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So thanks, Caleb.
Yeah, thanks, Caleb. I was hanging with him at NAMM this year, man. He's a good guy.
Cool. Yeah. Great dude. Yeah, I had him here at the house. He came to New York and spent the night over here, or not the night, but he spent most of the day. And it was a great time playing guitars with him and having him check out the guitars in the house. It was just, you know, it was surreal because, you know, you meet these people on the internet, and then the next thing they're here at the house and they're like, holy cow, you can finally put the name with the face, you know?
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Like that's one thing at NAMM too. It's like there's so much you know all these people just through, you know, like this, you know, but it's like you really get to know people from, you know, talking online and stuff. So yeah, to meet them in person. I've had a couple of experiences like that recently where it's like, wow, it's, you know, you feel like you know each other a long time, even though you're meeting in person for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. 708, my friend Jay says, in your bed? No, Jay, not this time. Maybe the next time. Maybe next time I'll get him in the bed. But only I could say something like that and get away with it.
Yeah, we're kicking him out of the chat. No, I'm just kidding. Banned.
Nah, it's all good.
Kid.
It's all
I'm
good.
just messing with you.
Awesome. Johnny Bean says, yes, it's the best part of NAMM.
Seeing people, yeah, it's awesome. The reunion, it's like an annual reunion now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and one more time, like I do every week, I want to say thanks to Johnny Bean for joining us and for allowing me to be able to do this. Because if it wasn't for Johnny Bean, and I'll say it every week, if it wasn't for Johnny Bean and me being on his show for the last 5 years, I wouldn't have been able to do this. And thanks to him for showing me how to get my own show started and actually being a part of it and being a cheerleader on the show for me, so to speak. I appreciate it. And thanks for joining us in the chat every week, Johnny and Jay and Ben Coombs and everyone else in the chat. I just want to, on behalf of me and Ty and Sammy, thank you so much for watching us and being a part of this show.
Certainly.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So on that note, are we good, guys? It's 10 o'clock.
Is it already 10 o'clock? Wow.
It's 10 o'clock. I told you it would go really fast.
Man, that's
So-
flew by.
So Sammy, what's next? What's I know we're in a time of uncertainty right now. But what's next for you? You've just released this incredible record. What do you have plans to do next?
Go on the road once you can go on the road again. It was kind of a bummer. Like right when that said, I was starting to line up all the summer shows and stuff, and fall. But it's looking probably like we'll end up going out in the fall now, just because everything's going to be hectic for a couple months once this all gets once we get through all this. So that'll be the next. For me, it's like I just want to start touring as an instrumentalist. It's kind of my goal for the rest of the year. So I'm on my way. We just got to kind of wait it out right now and just get through like everybody. But that's the main thing. I'm working on new music too. I'm going to the studio next week. Like that's one thing you can do while you're at home. Keep recording. So
yeah,
it's all good.
Will you go out as a trio or?
Yeah, my band's a trio. It's guitar, bass, and drums. Yep. So it's gonna be really fun, man. Hopefully I'll get to meet you guys in person. Before too long, man.
Yeah.
But
I'd love it.
But it's exciting, man. Like I've played a lot just around here with them, but we haven't gone out on the road together yet. So it's gonna be really cool. And it's like my best friends are my band, so it's like you can't beat that. It's just gonna be a blast. So
That's awesome.
that's next.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me on, guys.
Thanks for being here with us.
Pleasure.
It was really a lot of fun, and we'll do a part 2 somewhere down the line. We'd be happy to have you on again.
Oh, I'd love. Yeah, we barely scratched the surface, man.
Yeah.
Sammy,
So
thank you so much.
How do people get in touch
thank
with you?
Probably Instagram is probably the best. Just at my name, Sammy Boller, or either that or Facebook. You can find it's easy to find.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Awesome. Well, on behalf of Ty and myself and Sammy, I want to thank everyone again. And next Thursday night at 8 p.m., we have Larry Mitchell on with us.
Awesome.
He's gonna do a demo and show us how to use a ditto looper the correct way, and he will also autograph that pedal and send it back to us, and that'll be one of the giveaways. We have lots of cool people coming up in the next few weeks. I'll let you know as the weeks go on who we have on, but it's all going to be really fun, really good. And on that note, everyone, I just want to say good night, and we'll see you on the next one. Sammy, don't go anywhere.